Up next, it's time to check in on weather with Nebraska Extension's Eric Hunt. Eric, we're officially into the month of November, and so far the temperatures have been holding up pretty nice for most of us in Nebraska, but I hear that might be changing in the near term. How do things look?
Well, thanks, Bryce. Definitely a little taste of winter coming up here for the next couple of days. After that, though, we're back to mild temperatures. Start off with, though, Regenerative Agriculture Learning Hub has been developed by the University of Nebraska Extension. Will be available in mid-January. For registration, go to go.unl.edu/regenaghub. Sensible weather, start the week. We're looking at a deep trough over here in the Great Lakes with ridging to the west. That means we're going to have strong northerly flow coming into this region of the country. So keep our temperatures seasonally cold here across pretty much the entire state on Sunday and across eastern portions of the state on Monday. So again, this is a little bit colder than I think we were anticipating at this time last week. Not historically cold for this time of year, but certainly highs probably in the 30s for a good portion of the state on Sunday. A little bit warmer across portions of the Panhandle where you should get into the 40s. And it'll be cold on Monday morning across the eastern half of the state with lows probably getting into the middle upper teens for a lot of us. Certainly some of the coldest temperatures we've seen so far this year. By later Monday, though, the warmer air will be spreading toward the east, so I anticipate highs getting in the 60s across the Panhandle on Monday and getting a little bit cooler as you head further toward the east. But that warm air will rapidly spread toward the east on Tuesday with highs in the 60s statewide. And I'm going to guess that portions of southwestern and west central Nebraska have a pretty good shot at getting at least into lower 70s, maybe even cracking mid-70s as you get closer toward Imperial on Tuesday. We will remain relatively mild for the rest of the week as we see ridging in place across this portion of the continent for at least the next several days going into next week. That's going to keep us dry. It's also to keep our temperatures mostly in the 60s, maybe a little bit cooler a couple times as you get closer towards South Dakota, but generally pretty mild for this time of year. CPC favors warm conditions through the 8 to 14-day outlook. Again, I'm pretty confident this is going to be a good signal. We are likely to remain quite warm through at least about November 19th, maybe even through about closer to Thanksgiving, frankly, if we keep the deeper troughs out here in the west. CPC does show better chances of above average precipitation across the entire north central portion of the country. And again, now that's going to be contingent upon getting a storm system to come out here about the end of this next week or probably beginning of the week after that. So the end of next weekend, more or less. We may see a storm system come out that would generate precipitation here across the central plains of western Corn Belt. That is not a consistent signal in the models. You'll notice that the European weeklies are a lot more bullish on the precipitation being more prominent here in the west. Not necessarily showing a dry signal for us, like we do see further toward the south and east, but not necessarily showing a wet signal either. So there's a possibility we may not see that better moisture make its way into our area until we get closer about November 20th, 21st. And for some of us in the state, that would be about, we may not actually have a drop of moisture for some of us until about November 20th, 21st. So at that point, we may really actually need that moisture. Speaking of moisture, we have basically had nothing across state here in the last 7 days. And that lack of moisture is starting to cause more problems here across portions of northeastern Nebraska. We did see an expansion of normal dryness here across portions of central and northeastern Nebraska, and some additional expansion of moderate drought here across the northeastern corner of the state. I will point out with the government shutdown, some of the products that we like to use to assess drought have simply not been available, and that's making that job harder for those that do the drought monitor. Something else that's been a problem, or was a problem earlier this summer, was the lack of sun. So this is at York. So this is basically showing from July 4th to about July 24th. Peak grain filling time period. We had a significant deficit of solar radiation across this region this summer. Soil temperatures right now currently right about 50 degrees, give or take, for most of the state. And our weekly temperature precipitation around it for the week ending November 1st, 2025. Back to you, Bryce.